And now, friends, gather round. It's me, Paul Ross, joined by Van Connor, our main man when it comes to all matters movie-related, certainly when they're on the small screen, and he's got 1, 2, 3 days of top TV film picks for us to sink our teeth into. And I've got 3 as well. One quite literally involves sinking your teeth into people. Van Connor, good morning, matey, and welcome back to talkSPORT Extra Time.
Good morning to you as well, Mr. Ross. A pleasure as always.
And you want to start with an 80s-tastic classic that had married men all over the world crossing their legs and thinking twice before straying. You want to remind us that Fatal Attraction is on.
Indeed, as Tom Hanks famously said in Sleepless in Seattle, it scared the crap out of every man in America. It is, of course, Adrian Lynn's late 80s classic, but I think this really kind of solidified Michael Douglas as the sort of de facto figurehead of the R-rated adult thriller, and, of course, you know, turned Glenn Close into something of a household name as well.
And also reminded us all how beautiful the music of Puccini can be, because it's very kind of intense emotionally, this film. It involves bunnies being boiled. Have you got a clip for us?
I have got a clip for you, and of course it is that classic line from Glenn Close.
Here we go.
I'm pregnant. I'm going to have our child.
Alex, that's your choice, honey. That has nothing to do with me.
I just want to be a part of your life.
Oh, this is the way you do it, huh? Showing up at my appointment?
What am I supposed to do? You won't answer my calls. You changed your number. I mean, I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
So that's on 5. It's 11:05. And you're right, of course. He was such an 80s face, wasn't he, Michael Douglas? He made not Jagged Edge. He was in Basic Instinct. And, of course, he was in film I think was underrated, Black Rain.
Of course, as well, but that's the thing, because when you say Jagged Edge, that's because Glenn Close went on to be in Jagged Edge as well, so that the pair of them together, of course, Michael Douglas would go into the 90s with Disclosure as well, with Demi Moore. Yeah. And this, let's not forget, as you've pointed out so brilliantly, is the film that gave us the term bunny boiler, yes. Literally.
Into the dictionary. Okay, now, I've got one I must mention for tonight. It's on London Live, and even though it's called London Live, it's a Freeview channel all over the country. It's a film that was shot in 1969, 35mm black and white. It used mainly untrained young East End lads. My school went to see it almost as a pilgrimage. It's called Bronco Bullfrog, and it's about kind of late mod, early skinhead culture. Guy gets out of ball stall, they do a job, it gets a botched job, boy and girl go on the run. It's only about 80-odd minutes long, directed by a man called Barney Platts Mills. It's a BFI classic. It's got a very checkered history. The original negative was nearly lost in a skip and recovered. If you want to see a fantastic film, folks, record it. It's a real slice of late 60s, early 70s UK social history. A brilliant film. Bronco Bullfrog tonight, 10 o'clock on London Live. In fact, there was a rumour at the time. Princess Anne went off to the East End to a premiere of Three Sisters, and a load of lads from a Leighton, North East London youth club, you know, Leighton Orient country, turned up and tried to pelt her with tomatoes because she didn't go and see Bronco Bullfrog, which she eventually saw at a cinema on the Mile End Road. So it's a real London classic, but mine... Don't need to say too much about it. It stars Christopher Lee, of course, yes. Jenny Hanley, who went on to replace Susan Stranks in Magpie for the teenagers, and a very young indeed Dennis Waterman. It's on Talking Pictures TV. It's 10 o'clock tonight. Scars of Dracula. Sink your teeth into the trailer.
He is evil. He is the embodiment of all that is evil. He is the very devil himself.
Dracula's reign of horror reaches out even further. A winged creature of terror becomes Dracula's most fearsome new ally. Enter Dracula's stronghold at your peril.
And it's directed by that Hammer stalwart, Roy Ward Baker. They're great, those Christopher Lee Dracula films, I think, aren't they?
Oh, they really are. You can't top Christopher Lee's Dracula. I mean, there was just that golden era of Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and just that was true classic, you know, classic era horror, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And then you're going to go to a film I saw at the cinema a couple of years ago. Bryan Cranston stars in it. Saturday night. It's Trumbo. Not to be confused with Dumbo.
Of course not. Well, he is D. Trumbo, so it's an easy mistake to
Dalton
make.
Trumbo.
Exactly. So Dalton Trumbo, as played by Bryan Cranston here. This is his well, not so much his biopic, but the story of his fall from grace and his, let's just say, stealthy resurrection, as it were. So in 1947, Dalton Trumbo is, you know, one of the most accomplished screenwriters in the business. This man can churn out gold until, of course, John Wayne, as portrayed here by David James Elliott, and he is portrayed as somewhat of the forgotten historical reality of being a draft-dodging, sandbagging, commie-hunting, HUAC enabler, who basically outs Trumbo and Edward G. Robinson as well as communists, puts them on the list, forces them to name names. Dalton Trumbo is basically cast out of Hollywood until he finds a way to get back in, which is very simply to write all of the biggest and best movies of the era, but just not put his name on it. It becomes the dirty little secret of the industry. And I've got a clip for you in which a certain heartthrob of the nearly late 50s and early 60s comes to him with what will become a Stanley Kubrick classic. We may know its name. You'll find out at the end of this clip.
I'm doing a new picture, and I just got the script.
Sure. There must be 7 hours of entertainment there.
Not a single page is entertaining. But there's a good story in there, somewhere, about one man who tried to take on the whole world.
Well, you've got me so far.
He was a slave, led a revolt against the Roman Empire.
And what's the title?
Spartacus.
No, I am Spartacus fan. Or are you Spartacus as well?
I'm Spartacus and so is my wife.
What I liked about this film was it didn't shy away from the kind of moral complexities around Dalton Trumbo. That he was living the life of a kind of classic champagne socialist, and also that, you know, he was in many ways, for understandable reasons because of the Second World War, but kind of supporting or expressing his support for the hideous murderous regime of Stalin. So it's quite a complex film, this, isn't it? But a good film.
That's the thing. I thought it was genuinely tremendous. It was the first awards screening I ever attended. This one. I went with Alan Frank to see this back in 2015, and I had a great time. I thought it was a terrific movie. I thought Bryan Cranston gave a genuinely Oscar caliber performance. I think he's a brilliant actor anyway. I thought he was superb in this, but I like the supporting cast very much as well, which includes Michael Stuhlbarg as Edward Robinson, David James Elliott, I've already mentioned as John Wayne, and I really like that they didn't shy away from showing that darker side of John Wayne, because it's very tempting to mythologize John Wayne based on his work rather than the man. Helen Mirren, I thought, was great there as well. Just a really top shelf cast. Really great script, really well written, really well directed by Jay Roach as well, based on the book by Bruce Cook. A really great movie that I think more people should see.
And also, if you like films about filmmaking and Hollywood filmmaking, that's the one for you. I've got a sneaky Saturday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon suggestion from Film 4 to get you in the Crimbo mood. It's a film, black and white film. I hope they show that version, not the colorised film, which goes back good few years. I think it's 1942. It's the first film in which Bing Crosby sings White Christmas, but it's not White Christmas. It's a film with him and Fred Astaire called Holiday Inn. It's 2:45 tomorrow afternoon, Film 4. Basically, they run a hotel, motel place that only opens on big American holidays. So Easter, of course, Christmas, George Washington's birthday. It sometimes is cut because there's a scene when Bing and Fred Astaire appear in blackface, which is now, of course, understandably a huge no-no. But it is a great old holiday musical. First appearance of White Christmas, black and white film. But my biggie tomorrow night was a game changer. In fact, it's a little after midnight, but I still count it as Saturday night. 12:15, BBC One. It's Memento. Guy Pearce, Christopher Nolan wrote and directed it, and Carrie-Anne Moss is in it as well. Basically, it's a chap whose wife has been brutally murdered. He wants to track down the killer. One problem, he has an inability to remember anything that happened more than 15 minutes ago. So his whole life is a constant reawakening. He's covered his body in reminder tattoos. He leaves post-it notes to himself. It's a brilliant, melon-twisting film. Here's the trailer.
Awake. Where am I? Some anonymous motel room.
I guess I've already told you about my condition.
Oh, well, only every time I see you.
It's my memory.
Amnesia.
No. It's different from that. I have no short-term memory. I know who I am. I know all about myself. Since my injury, I can't make new memories. Everything fades. I've told you this before, haven't I?
What's the last thing that you do remember?
My wife. Dying. My wife deserves vengeance. Doesn't make any difference whether I know about it. Just because there are things I don't remember doesn't make my actions meaningless.
And my producer Sam Stevens has given me the big thumbs up through the glass for that one, because that was a cracking film from the year 2000, was it not?
Oh, it really was. One of my favourite things about Memento is if you have the original DVD, there is a code you can type in.
Oh, yes. When you see it,
hidden way, and you watch it watch it in chronological order rather than in proper order rather than how it's depicted.
Of course, although I did that being a bit of a nerd, and it actually is quite dull when you do that. It's kind of just one darn thing after another. But the film itself is so fragmented in time, folks. If you've never seen it, and even if you have, get yourself in front of your telly tomorrow night, BBC One, 12:15, and then you've got Sunday for us. What are you looking at for Sunday, Van?
So Sunday, one of my favourite ever action movies. It is, of course, 1985's John McTiernan and Arnold Schwarzenegger classic. It's Commando, in which Arnold Schwarzenegger plays the brilliantly named retired special ops soldier John Matrix, whose daughter, a then tween Alyssa Milano, back in her Who's the Boss days, is kidnapped by deposed South American dictator and his legion of mercenaries, which includes one of Arnie's former colleagues, who's gone nuts and is dressed for some reason like he's wandered off the set of Mad Max 2.
Well, there's a very strong kind of gay undertone to this film, isn't there? They're very kind of wrestling shirts off and kind of almost, and I think the main psycho baddie is one of the main baddies in Mad Max 2 as well, I think, isn't he?
He is, I believe he is. And of course, the deposed dictator is Dan Hedaya, who, you know, obviously we know from other things.
And this has got one of the highest body counts of any film, I think, of the 80s. It's an astonishingly kind of fatal death-dealing film, this.
I think we agreed. Was it 74 that he kills?
I think it is.
It is the highest body count for an Arnie film. And that's the thing, because he's tasked with going back to this island that he's deposed the dictator from before the events of the film and assassinating the new president who he helped put in power, which, of course, he's not going to do. He's going to go and do his own thing. But along the way, he's going to kill a bunch of dudes. And I've got a clip for you. Not even a clip. I'm just going to give you the best line in the entire movie.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
There's a scene in that film I remember when he gets trapped in effectively a tool shed, and he turns what's in there into weapons, including the blade of a circular saw, which he comes out and tosses like a lethal frisbee and takes the top of somebody's head off. So it's not really a family film, this, is it? Unless you're a member of the Manson family or the Addams family.
Very much so. I mean, one of my favourite things is when he is offing all those South American soldiers, those nameless faceless South American soldiers. Yeah. One of my favourite things is that if you're paying attention, you can see the same exact extra killed in about 12 different ways.
And there is as we both know, a continuity blooper involving a bright yellow Porsche, which is in an accident and then drives away later completely unscathed. So watch out for that one as well. A great fun film. And I'm going to end with something, well, it's obvious, never stopped me normally. It's 10:10, Sunday night, ITV4. It's Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid. It's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from 1989. So it's 40 years old this year, Van. But what's not to love, eh?
Oh, no, it's a stone-cold classic, is National Lampoon's Christmas. It might be, in fact, technically speaking, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is one of the best sequels ever made.
OK, and we've got, it's a production written and produced by John Hughes, the main man, of course. So let's have a listen to the clip.
'Tis the season to be jolly, fa-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
After vacationing across America and throughout Europe,
Take it, Russ.
this holiday season, the Griswolds are going to play it safe.
Clark, we're stuck under a truck.
They're staying at home.
I give you the Griswold family Christmas tree.
Hope you're not getting sap all over your sweater, Clark.
All Clark wants is a quiet, old-fashioned Christmas.
Sorry. Got a little knot here. You can work on that.
What he's going to get is the gift that keeps on living.
Merry Christmas.
His family.
So that's ITV4, 10:10. Van, can we do it all again next week?
It sounds like a plan to me, Mr. Ross, as always.
And OK, so how can people find your cinematic views and musings, some may say ramblings, online? Because you're also in animated form.
Well, I'm on hiatus at the moment in animated form, but we will return. That is the Me Movie Show. You can find all 53 existing episodes on YouTube at the moment, in which I'm a talking head in cartoon form reviewing movies each week. And you can find me on podcast platforms on Friday with Rebecca Perfect on the Off-Screen Show.
And he's perfect for us again next Friday, so join us on talkSPORT Extra Time with me, Paul Ross, and this morning, Van Connor.